Presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson and the Adahi Itano program. Cars Plus, drive home in a brand new 2021 Hyundai Palisade equipped with Guam's only lifetime powertrain limited warranty. Call 477-7807 or visit carsplusguam.com. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Hit on primetime. Murder defendant Joshua Palacios is found guilty in the death of Keith Castro. Plus, familiar names pop up during Mark Mayo's federal drug trial. And Guam receives $280,000 as part of a $500 million opioid settlement.
Afternoon and good evening, I'm Peter Santos. Topping our newscast, the defense may have argued there was no motive, but the jury agreed the prosecution got the right man. Adriana Cotero has the latest from Superior Court as Joshua Palacios was found guilty of murder.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Joshua Guerrero Palacios, guilty.
All it took was less than 2 hours for a jury to find Joshua Palacios guilty of murder. Palacios was accused of pulling the trigger that led to the death of Keith Castro. The homicide took place at a home in Jico on July 28, 2019. The guilty verdict follows closing statements that were delivered this morning after 13 days of trial and testimony from witnesses from both sides. Defense attorney Tom Fisher had argued Palacios was framed, while Assistant Attorney General Rochelle Canto argued Palacios was caught red-handed and was the prime suspect. For Castro's family, it brings closure to a 16-month-long wait for justice to be served. Peter Castro sat in the courtroom every day of trial, holding a picture of his son in his hand.
It is very painful, ma'am, but at least I'm very happy that justice has been served, and that's all I want to do here. The only thing that I don't know really what's the motive that they killed him, but at least the justice was served that the murder is going to be behind bars for serving his time of the murder of my son.
Palacios is scheduled to be sentenced on February 24th. Attorney Fisher plans to file an appeal. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
Major revelations in the Mark Mayo federal drug trial as familiar names and allegations of corruption in the island's local judicial system and law enforcement community resurface.
It wouldn't be the first time we've heard about it. A playback of an audio recording between drug defendant Mark Mayo and FBI agent Rafael Fernandez describe a climate of corruption at the local judiciary in the Fed's effort to go after the big dogs. Mayo and Lovelia Mendoza were charged in a major drug conspiracy. Mendoza entered a plea agreement with the Feds and provided testimony on Thursday. Both were busted in 2018 as part of a drug sting. Lovelia admitted Mayo worked for her. In court today, an audio recording from November 2019 was played with Agent Fernandez asking Mayo if he knew Jontnia Mayor Jesse Blas. Mayo said he was Lovelia's boyfriend. He was dating her and those, quote, young chicks, unquote. He also described how he was able to get 2 warrants vacated because of the mayor. Mayo described paying either $2,500 or $500 per warrant. Also on the recording, Fernandez asked if he knew who Joey Terlahi is. Mayo said he never met him, but, quote, I know he was punching some girl in the face, unquote. During the recording, the FBI continued to press Mayo on what he knows and who he knows in Guam's drug world. Fernandez asking, do you know any of the big ones? Do you know anyone at the port getting stuff in? Do you know any custom officers that might be dirty? Do you know any shady cops? Mayo responded with no, but detailed an incident when he was pulled over by local law enforcement and they, quote, stole his money, unquote. As we reported, former Mayor Blas was sentenced last month for his role in allowing drug trafficking through village mailboxes in exchange for bribes. As for Joey Terlahi, his name was also brought up during Blas's arraignment hearing in September 2019. He is the former deputy director of the Department of Corrections, but resigned a day after the former mayor was indicted. Prior to going to DOC, he was a marshal at the Superior Court of Guam. Following Agent Fernandez's testimony, the government rested. Mayo's trial continues with the defense's case-in-chief next week. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
Also from District Court, Darrell Jake Guerrero has entered a plea agreement. In January of last year, he was indicted and charged with possession of 50 or more grams of methamphetamine hydrochloride with the intent to distribute. According to the plea agreement, on January 7, 2020, he was busted by law enforcement at a local hotel. Inside his room, they found 330 net grams of meth, drug packaging materials, and cash. Quote, the circumstances indicate that the hotel room was being used to store and distribute methamphetamine. Guerrero is scheduled to be sentenced on May 6. Guam is one of the beneficiaries in a more than $500 million settlement over the nationwide opioid abuse crisis. Attorney General Camacho made the formal announcement in a news conference streamed live this morning by KUAM.
We filed suit against Purdue Pharmaceuticals in August of 2019, which was the first time our office had filed a complaint of that kind. Since that time, we have continued to work with AG offices across the country in investigating and, where necessary, taking action against companies who have contributed to the opioid crisis. Those efforts have resulted in why we're here today, which is our office securing $280,000 for Guam to combat the opioid epidemic and to assist in drug treatment and rehabilitation.
Some 53 states and territories will share in a $573 million settlement to be paid by McKinsey & Company, the world's largest consulting firm, for its role in helping pharmaceutical companies promote the use of highly addictive opioids. AG Camacho says $80,000 will be allocated for specific toxicology testing by the medical examiner to establish a baseline for opioid deaths. Right now, there are no stats. They only rely on arrests and voluntary treatment to gauge how bad the problem is.
It's like using speeding tickets to figure out how many people on the island speed. It's a very limited number that we're capturing.
Anecdotally, recent arrests involving thousands of pill confiscations suggest the problem is much larger. More specific data could translate into more money to combat the problem.
There are proposals out there that the territories would get absolutely nothing because we don't have any metrics to explain just how bad the problem is here. So, going back to the importance of being in the room when these things are happening, and even just raising your hand and saying, hey, Guam here, we have an opioid problem too. Please don't forget about us. So could we have gotten more? Possibly, but it'll tell you that this is the first substantial settlement that any multi-states have arrived at in this large of a bipartisan group. So it's pretty big.
The bulk of the settlement money, about $200,000, will go for addiction treatment and education. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
18-year-old Jeremiah Jerome Pareto was busted for several burglaries that occurred between December of last year and last month. Police were able to catch him based on surveillance video. In total, he was found to be responsible for 3 burglaries in the Tamuning area. Aside from burglary, Pareto was arrested for theft of property, conspiracy, and guilt established by complicity. He was booked and released. Let's go to the movies. Tango Theaters reopened today after 11 months of being closed. Marketing Director Terry Flores gave us a breakdown of how movie-going experience will be with the new safety measures in place.
Tango Theaters is operating with enhanced safety and health protocols. This begins with the mandatory wearing of face masks at all premises in the theaters. This is from the lobby way into the auditorium. At the auditorium, the viewing experience will definitely be safe and it will be a pleasure. First of all, there will only be 50% capacity for each of the 12 auditoriums. As far as the seating arrangement goes, every other row is vacant and there will be a 2-chair separation between patrons.
According to Flores, there will be a 45-minute gap between showings to allow for the staff to sanitize the auditoriums. As KUAM reported, there will be no sales of concessions as of this time in accordance with Executive Order 2021-01. In efforts to cut down on the lines at the box office, moviegoers can purchase their tickets online by heading over to tangotheaters.com. Looking at our vaccination numbers, currently 31,882 people have been vaccinated. Of that number, 24,685 received their first dose, while 7,197 people have been fully vaccinated. A total of 2,418 doses of the vaccine are left. A slight correction to the incoming shipment of COVID vaccines, DPHSS PIO Janela Carrera previously stated that a total of 9,800 Moderna vaccines are expected to arrive. The total number is actually 9,200, while the expected amount of Pfizer is 7,800. The total number of doses to arrive is 17,000. Earlier this week, the shipment of Moderna vaccines arrived. Guerrero says the Pfizer vaccine should come in over the weekend. Due to the new UK strain of COVID-19 taking over the U.S., Physicians Advisory Group Dr. Hoa Wen says it's very unlikely that quarantine protocols will be lifted for incoming travelers, at least not until around mid-March.
The new strain probably will be pretty much in 29 states now in the United States, and probably again during mid-March, probably everywhere in the United States. I think it's already in Hawaii. And you know, in the UK, the hospital admission increased a lot. You know, it's much more infectious than the current strain.
Although the quarantine facilities are the main way to catch and prevent new COVID cases from coming into the island, there is still no COVID testing offered upon arrival. A new batch of more than 20,000 stimulus or EIP checks totaling about $22 million has been released by the Department of Revenue and Taxation. DRT Director Daphne Shimizu says their goal is to get out most of the checks by February 12th, which is the first day to file 2020 income tax returns.
But the reason why we're trying to make these payments as soon as possible, or get these out as soon as possible, is because for those people who, for whatever reason, may not have received EIP2, or they may not, or they may be eligible for a little bit more, they're going to need the information on their EIP1 and 2 in order to put on their tax return for 2020, so that they can get that difference if there's a difference, or so that they can make sure that they get it if they were otherwise eligible for this period. So that's why that's very significant.
She says the checks are being processed in the order of when taxpayers filed their 2019 returns. You'll also be able to track your payments online.
We also will be having an EIP2 portal. We have been working on that. Remember, we did launch EIP1. It got launched a little bit later, Sabrina, than I had hoped it was going to be launched, but we got it. We're actually working now on just kind of finalizing the EIP2 portal, so that we'll have that available and that people won't have to call us to check whether they have gotten their EIP2. So we're going to get that up and running very soon.
According to DRT, more than 65,000 checks totaling almost $69 million have been processed to date. The last EIP2 checks will be processed by March 19, 2021. Executive Director of the Guam Legislature, Carlo Branch, has been hard at work finalizing the finer details of the legislature's drug-free workplace policy. Here's more.
With the hot light set on the Port Authority of Guam and their recent oversight hearing on their drug-free workplace policy, the question of drug use in government has become the topic of discussion as of late. A press release sent out by the office of Senator Chris Duenas pointed out that although a pre-employment drug screening policy exists for all new hires, there are no official rules to date on how senatorial offices can proceed in adherence to the drug-free workplace policy. Executive Director of the Guam Legislature, Carlo Branch, says it'll be ready soon.
Once I receive the appropriate guidance from legal counsel, which I got on Monday, I've spent the last couple of days attempting to draft proposed guidance so that individual senators' offices can implement, the policy as best they see fit. So my goal is to finish that policy by the end of the afternoon, submit it to legal counsel for review, and then provide that guidance to our members and to our staff.
The legislature's drug-free workplace policy consists of several parts, one of them addressing the issue of drug use at its very roots.
A big part of our drug-free workplace policy, as contemplated by senators, I assume, when the rule was drafted, is particular to the training and prevention of alcohol and illegal substance abuse. And so one of the steps that I've taken since I've been on board is to attempt to work with Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness, the Society of Human Resource Management, and another third party to attempt to get training scheduled for members of legislative staff relative to our drug-free workplace policy, which is to prevent the abuse of illegal drugs and the use of illegal drugs, as well as of alcohol.
Another component of the policy relative to drug screenings is broken down into 3 types: pre-employment testing, reasonable suspicion testing, and voluntary testing. And at face value, it seems like a no-brainer, but Director Branch says it's not that simple.
In 2017, the Attorney General of Guam issued an opinion in which he stated that random drug testing without the basis of suspicion was unconstitutional. So one of the first things that I did as executive director was to work with legal counsel to get further guidance on whether or not mass pre-employment testing without the basis of suspicion or without the basis of special need was in fact unconstitutional in light of the AG's opinion. And the general guidance that I received is yes.
In regards to employees of the legislature who are deemed as unclassified,
all unclassified employees of the legislature are at-will employees. So if any senator or any hiring authority believes that their employee should take a drug test, that person can and should take the drug test, or they can be terminated without cause.
And for Branch, when it comes to drug screening of the legislature, there's a high standard to meet.
When suspicion does arrive, or when there is a reasonable need to do so, like in the event of a workplace accident, then that would be sufficient. And so while I am always open to taking a test, and while I have always volunteered to do so, my obligation personally is to protect this branch from liability. And I think in principle, greater than the liability is such that the legislature as the lawmaking body should have great reverence and respect for the law.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Peter Santos.
Speaker Therese Terlahi has requested for in-person session on Friday, February 12th at 10 a.m. at the Guam Congress Building. To ensure the safety of all lawmakers, measures have been updated, such as health screenings and employees remaining in their office while session is called to order. To minimize the risk of infection, adherence to these measures allows for the legislature to conduct session in the Guam Congress Building safely and responsibly while continuing to be compliant with the current executive orders. Stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
Social distancing may be the new norm, but connection will always be our tradition. Through good times and tough times, we remain connected with you. Masks may be the new fashion, but protection will always be our style. You can always count on us to protect the things that matter the most. Sanitizing may be the new routine, but caring will always be our practice. We care about your loved ones and the things you value the most. And as we welcome our new normal, one thing remains certain: we will always be here for you. We're open and ready to serve you. Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust.
How do you dare? You chip away at what's been built because you can do better. How do you dare? You chase away wrongs to make room for what's right. You. How do you dare? You stand while they sit and scream when they are silent. You combine your strengths to reject their weakness. You step up, stand out, and shape a new point of view. How do you dare? This is how you dare. Introducing the all-new Elantra.
KUAM News, winner of the 2020 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Social Media.
Just before news time, in order filing, District Court dismisses business owner Tom Feinhoff's lawsuit against Governor Lulian Guerrero and Public Health Director Art San Agustin with leave to amend. As we reported, Feinhoff is challenging the constitutionality of Guam's COVID-19 restrictive measures that include the closure of bars, taverns, and other businesses deemed, quote, non-essential. The defendants in the case moved for dismissal, and Chief Judge Francis Taidenko Gatewood ultimately granted the motion with leave to amend. Plaintiffs may file an amended complaint by February 19th, and failure to timely file will result in an automatic dismissal on the matter. As for the defendant's motion to request for monetary damages against the respondents in their official capacities, the motion has been granted with prejudice. A home buyer should have the right to know if there are any major defects to the property they're buying. Unlike most states, Guam does not have a seller disclosure law, and a public hearing was held today on a bill by Senator Sabina Perez to require the practice. Here's more.
Real Estate Commission Chairman Chris Murphy is in full support of the measure, which he says will provide long overdue consumer protections and level the playing field for home buyers.
Purchasing a home is probably the largest investment the average person will make during his or her lifetime. And if you are like many of us, you may not be a real estate expert with the ability to ensure that you're getting the best possible deal. In fact, unlike the majority of jurisdictions throughout the United States, Guam real estate transactions are based on the concept of caveat emptor, or let the buyer beware.
Murphy says transactions are sold as is, placing the burden on the buyer and creating in the seller's mind that they're not responsible for acknowledging or fixing any major defects. But fellow Real Estate Commissioner Attorney Mars Johnson says the language of what's required to be disclosed needs to be very specific.
I think it would be perhaps wiser if we were to put together a real estate disclosure law on Guam that specifically addresses that that sellers should disclose, say, X, Y, and Z things that the legislature has decided are important to be disclosed.
And then there's a section on disclosing stigmatized property. Johnson zeroed in on a provision that requires disclosure of a haunted house.
No other state has such a requirement in its statute, and it's pretty easy to understand why. I believe if the Guam legislature were to pass a law requiring sellers of real property or homes to disclose the house is haunted or disclose other paranormal activity, this would probably be taken up in the news in a bad way and reflect poorly on Guam's real estate community and the Guam legislature.
But Murphy says deaths such as suicides or murders at a home are a real issue for Guam home buyers, especially among the Asian community.
Almost every Asian I deal with, one of the first questions they ask, anyone die here? So they're a big part of the buying community here. So I think it's an appropriate concept to have in there. If it needs to be defined or limited more, then I'm okay with that. But I don't think we should just whitewash the whole stigmatized issue.
Bill sponsor Senator Perez says she will refine the bill, taking into account the day's testimony. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
As we've previously reported, the Guam Housing Corporation, in partnership with GHRA, under the CARES Act, received a grant of $714,000, which was projected to assist over 200 mortgage holders for up to 3 months. But several barriers have prevented many from qualifying for the mortgage assistance. Fortunately, in the meantime, the administration is rolling out a stand-up program to help some of the island's renters. Tyler Matanani has more from the recent OHAP meeting.
In regards to the mortgage assistance program funded through the CARES Act, 513 applications were picked up. 130 were actually submitted to the Guam Housing Corporation. 3 have been approved, while 24 were disapproved. GHRA Executive Director Ray Tapasnia.
In some cases, there's the applications were disapproved due to the household income being above the HUD thresholds. Basically, when Congress passed all these pandemic relief programs, you would have PUA, and then several in the household would qualify for PUA, so that would elevate them above the income threshold. So that is one of the disqualifiers.
Tapasnia adds that other factors that HUD takes into account are real estate assets and variance and deferments. The administration is currently working on a stand-up rental assistance program. The recent aid package passed by Congress offers a rental program that will not have to go through the U.S. Housing and Urban Development process. The lieutenant governor previously stated that at the very minimum, there should be at least $18 million that will be available for residential renters for back rent and or utilities. The program is currently pending additional guidance from the Treasury Department. Tapasnia touched on a couple other programs in operation, including the Emergency Solutions Grant, which has been in operation before the pandemic.
We've had 28 families or individuals, head of households, that have been assisted with Emergency Solution Grant, or ESG. 36 currently are under, together between Catholic Social Service or the Salvation Army or GHRA.
There are currently 36 under housing search. Tapasnia reports 4 families or individuals have been housed and 5 have been awarded rent relief.
It's a separate rent relief program. Basically, it's the homeless prevention program through Catholic Social Service or Salvation Army.
Turning the focus over to global dorms, 20 head of households have been assigned a case manager, and GHRA is servicing approximately 12 of them for housing search. The last program Tapasnia touched on was the Housing First Rental Assistance Program.
Specific to global dorm, we've actually, in the last couple of weeks, housed 3 families or individuals. 5 of them are adults and 14 children. And currently there's an inspection process for 3 separate households. So, we're slowly chipping away at those at the global dorm. I know there's a lot of families there and a lot of kids, and we hope to, as this process moves along, we hope to house as many as we can.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tyler Matsinani.
Today, the Guam Economic Development Authority opened the application period for the Qualifying Certificate Community Contribution Grant Program Series 3. The program will provide grant funding of up to $50,000 per award to nonprofit organizations and government of Guam departments or agencies for eligible projects with an emphasis on workforce and entrepreneurship development. The grant funding is made possible by the QCCC from the Guam Regional Medical City and TNN Guam, doing business as Subaki Hotel. The grant application closes on February 26th at 5 p.m. Since the start of the QCCC grant program, GITA has distributed $600,000 to 56 grantee projects falling into one of 7 categories: healthcare, public safety, higher education, cultural preservation, tourist attractions, sports, tourism, or economic development. For more information and to email grant applications, you can visit qcgrants@investguam.com. In response to the Department of Defense's denial of a public hearing for the surface danger zone over the Ritidian area, Pratehi Litexan Save Ritidian will be holding a peaceful protest tomorrow, February 6th from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. The protest will take place at the ITC intersection as well as the Governor's Complex at Adelup. Participants are advised to wear a mask, keep socially distant, and practice the Chamorro value of respeto, as this will be a peaceful protest. Coming up, more primetime news. You're watching KUAM.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your 4th meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live Mas.
Guam is truly a majestic place with its sheer natural beauty, wealth of beaches, and culturally rich landscape. Unfortunately, Guam has a real problem with unwanted invasive species. Help us in preventing their introduction and spread. The coconut rhinoceros beetle, the little fire ant, the African snail, Siam weed. These are just a few of the numerous invasives on Guam. Follow proper custom procedures when bringing plants and animals into Guam.
Help protect Guam. Tell your family and friends about invasive species.
To report invasive species, call 475-PEST.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
Break out your toolkit, put on your safety goggles, and get ready for class. GCA Trades Academy Education Director Bert Johnston says there's job opportunities out there and they've got the training to get you ready for them. Here's more.
The pandemic has left much of the island's workforce unemployed or working reduced hours. And with the recovery rate of the tourism industry and our local economy based solely on educated guesses, many people are left wondering what jobs are even out there. Education Director of the GCA Trades Academy, Bert Johnston, says they've got the tools to help you get into a trade.
One of the things that's a manifestation of the situation on Guam, where a lot of businesses are no longer hiring. That's not true in construction. Construction has always been hiring. They still don't have enough workers. The problem is having the skill sets to be able to do those jobs. So like there's huge opportunities in construction for a lot of people. The trouble is most people aren't ready for that opportunity. The question is, how do you get ready for those opportunities so that you can take advantage of them? And that is, part of it is to get training. Okay, then employers are specifically looking for both training and experience. But if you've got the training, it makes it a lot easier for them to give you the experience.
Johnston says as long as you're driven, there's an opportunity out there waiting for you.
What we're looking for is two things: interest in construction, willing to learn. You know, if you've got those two, that's the type of person we want to get into our classes. You notice I didn't say high school diploma. It's not required in our program. Okay, I didn't say anything about having a prior criminal conviction. If you've got one, we prefer that you keep that in your history. Don't bring it forward. You bring it forward, then it becomes an issue that we have to deal with. So keep it in your past. And then the third part is being able to fund these. And there's a lot of different funding opportunities from the American Job Center, from scholarships, from programs through Department of Education if you're still in high school, that are available.
And if you haven't had luck finding them recently, it's because they've set up shop at a brand new facility in Teton.
The newest thing is we're in a new facility. Brand new facility. We just got occupancy this month. We've started up classes for the first time here, slowly again. We're cautiously optimistic, but we're proceeding with 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door in case something happens, we can back up. We're putting in all the protocols to protect our students, our staff, and our faculty here. Every one of our classrooms that's air conditioned has the ability to ventilate that room individually. We don't share air conditions between rooms. Every one of the air conditioned systems here has UV treatment. So it's designed basically for pandemic environment, even though we didn't plan on that initially.
According to Johnston, the Trades Academy is currently offering classes in HVAC, electrical, carpentry, employability skills training, and heavy equipment operation. For more information on the Academy and their programs, give them a call at 647-4282, visit their website at gcatradesacademy.org, or swing by their new facility in Teton, located across the Salvation Army.
Coming up next, your Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club shout out. Keep it here.
For the different beats of your life, we're here to keep you connected the way you want it. Plans made for you, by you. Build your own bundle with Link. Select the internet, entertainment, mobile, and home phone plans that fit your lifestyle. Pay for what you want, not for what you don't. Build your own bundle and save with Link.
We get it. Living to the fullest is tough during COVID-19. You don't need to do it alone, and everyone needs a hand right now. We are here. Feeling overwhelmed? Call 647-8833 and let's talk. Mangagiham is a project of Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center.
And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
Happy Friday before the Super Bowl. Birthdays on this February 5th to Julie Mesnion. Happy birthday to our beautiful sister from Texas. Wishing that you will always stay happy and blessed in life. We love and miss you, says your favorite sister, your brothers, and your Guam families. Bertha Rosalind, happy birthday to you. Coming from your grandchildren, your children, and your great-grandchildren. That is 3 generations of awesome. Raymond Perez, happy birthday number 40, and may God bless you with many more to come from all your friends and family. Taylor James Mendiola, otherwise known as Gummy, happy birthday number 26 to my Taylor James. You bring smiles to everyone you meet, especially me. May God bless you always. With love, KUAM's own Adriana Cotero. Eee. Nice shout out, Adriana. Good job. Happy birthday, Taylor. Irish, happy birthday to Mom. We wish that life brings you a special surprise for every candle on your birthday cake. Love, Sean, Andre, Eric, Jean, Gavin, and Van. Happy birthday, Iris. Sharon O'Malley, happy birthday to you, and you are getting birthday love from Vanessa, Samantha, and Robert. Pedro Borja, happy birthday to you, and your family is sending all of their love, and they wish you the happiest of birthdays. And happy birthday to Grandma and Nina Burney, otherwise known to you and me as Bernadette Sublime. We hope that you have a wonderful day, and we are so grateful for your love and your kindness. God bless you, and we love and miss you. With all of the admiration in the world, coming from Mateo, Brennan, Bianca, Caleb, and the rest of your family.
Remember, you can be a part of the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club by registering online at KUAM.com. Please make sure to include with your photo your name and your birth date. And it's that time of the week where we announce the lucky winner of a delicious Cold Stone Creamery birthday cake.
This week's winner of a yummy Cold Stone Creamery ice cream cake is Tony Beneventi. Tony was born on February the 2nd, and Tony and his family are getting an amazing extended birthday present. So Tony, happy birthday once again, and we hope you and your family stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy your gift.
That's going to do it for us here on Primetime. I'm Peter Santos. Thanks for watching. Good night.